Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Monday on L&D Talk. My name is Brent Schlenker. I am Chief Learning Officer for litmus.com. You can read my blog at litmus.com/blog. You can follow me on the Twitters at litmus or at bschlenker. You can follow all of these great people. If you haven't clicked on the little bubbles up above, I suggest you do that and click follow for all of you wonderful folks. I hope you're all following each other. But today is Monday, and I couldn't come up with anything else today. Last week was Modular Monday. Today is Motivation Monday. What gets you excited about creating e-learning? What gets you excited about your job? What do you like about being in learning and development? I'm not exactly sure where this conversation will go this morning, but I think it's important. I do think it's important that we figure out what exactly it is we like about our jobs. Why is it that we do what we do? Because I think that might also enlighten how we do what we do and why we're good at it. And so maybe we can take it from there. Everybody all of a sudden seems to have gotten awfully quiet in the live chat. What do I like about L&D? Always learning new things. Sam nails the first big answer to this question. Yeah, I think that's exactly the reason. That's exactly why I got into it. I hated doing the same thing day after day, or at least I don't think I've ever really done that, but I hated the thought of it. So when I was looking to go to school to try to find something that I wanted to do with my life, I just couldn't stand the idea of doing one thing all the time, all day long. And so education, especially educational technology, gives you a chance to, you get to dive really deep or maybe just kind of shallow into a particular topic. Learn it just enough to be able to create some educational materials around it, get to talk to some really cool people, do a project or two, work in that space, and then move on to something else. So it's perfect for those of us gladly suffering from what the shrinks like to call ADD or ADHD or whatever they want to call it. I just call it being awesome. Mark says, our world is changing and now faster. We must adapt to more learning all the time. Absolutely. Learning is a critical part of the work. And as some of our colleagues have said, I believe it was maybe Jay Cross or others from the Internet Time Alliance, that learning is the work and the work is learning. Something to that effect. I don't know. Did I get that right? But yeah, I mean, I think everything's about learning. Everything's happening way too fast for us not to all be learning. Doing the same thing and not moving forward is basically the same as moving backwards, because everything else around you is moving forward. So if you're just standing still, everything else is just passing you, which in essence feels like you're going backwards. To Mark's point, continuous change equals continuous learning. Absolutely. Ajay is involved because he loves to learn. I know Anthony loves his job. Oh, did he drop out? He loves it so much he bailed on us. He had to go do it. He was so excited about doing his learning and development. He's probably launching his new LMS or something at this point. Hey, Joseph, how's it going? So what else do we like? Those are the easy ones, you guys. Come on, what's, drop in something. Helping people do what they want to do, need to do, enjoy doing, and better. JD jumps in with the big one, the helping thing. So we like to learn. Which is kind of a selfish motivation, but I think on top of everything else, I think JD nails the other one, is that I think we are all, I don't think you can be in this industry without having some sense of desire to help others, desire to work with other people, to be in that sort of relationship with other people, and working and connecting with other people and helping people be better at what they do, which is what we do, right? Performance improvement. That is our strength. Anthony's back. Woo! There are plenty of people involved in learning who aren't focused on the benefits to others. I would agree, sadly. But I think a lot of times it gets lost in the business of what we do, right? I think a lot of times we can get too focused on making sure that the business is surviving or that we are just getting the work done, that we tend to forget why we're doing it in the first place. Every once in a while, I think we need to step back and reassess that, for sure. No customers, no heavy accountability, checking boxes, working 9 to 5. What a way to make a living. In the immortal words of Dolly Parton. L&D hoarders, gatekeepers, but that's not us. I do love when I see people start to build their own communities out of a common need to learn. Yes, and you can do that, or anybody can do that now more than ever, which leads to another conversation that has kind of been an undercurrent throughout all of these different blab sessions that we've had, and that is just how the people that we support, that we try to help improve their performance, have all of these new technologies and new capabilities, and they're able to learn so much and to connect with other people on their own, utilizing technologies, that it's completely changing our role and our responsibility and the things that we can do to help them. Much of what we used to do and what we used to think that we owned, people can do and find on their own. So everything is being disrupted right now. And I think that's causing a lot of the angst in our industry. I think it's one of the things that's causing people to just say, screw it. I'm just going to keep cranking out the training I've been doing. All this stuff's going on. It's just crazy. It's out of control. It's the Wild West. I don't want to participate. Sean's trying to jump in and I'm totally ignoring him. And so
hey, man.
Sean,
I'm joining in.
Oh, this is weird. My video just went all wonky and you're hidden behind a square of some sort, but
the only reason why I'm joining in is because I can't.
Okay, I see. I can't hear you. This is going to really suck.
No, I was.
All right, hold on a second.
No problem.
Yeah, see if you can do that. Oh, yeah, you can as the host. Outstanding. But first, Ajay, this is for you. Boo! Did that go through?
We were talking about existentialism a little bit here before you got on. Now we have to digress a little bit to L&D jobs. So.
Oh, existentialism. Well, we can go back to that if you want.
No, that's all right. It was getting too deep.
Okay.
It was off. If it was off recording too, I mean, we were really solving some world problems before we got back.
Well, good. Well, I'm just glad we're back. So, all right. So, what do you like about your job?
Wow. From an L&D perspective, that's one thing about the actual what I do. But I think also a lot of it is about the support you get in the network that you work in, your peers, your colleagues. I wouldn't even call it your boss anymore. It's kind of this networked approach, right? So inside of Accenture, I feel like the best part of my job is that they trust me 100% to do the job that I need to get done. That's why I love about my job. So.
Cool. So step it up one level then. So there's the job, and then there's your career. Why why L&D? Why do you like doing that? Other than the things we've already covered.
I will. It's an offshoot of what's already been covered, but
okay.
I feel, and I tell this to my team too, I feel like we've got a superpower, and our superpower is to help other people get their own superpower, to lead them. We're the catalyst to that. So we're the dump truck dumping toxic chemicals on Daredevil's eyes, right? Or we are the sun in Superman's powers, right? We're that sort of catalyst because we help people achieve better versions of themselves. And if you think about it that way, you're never focusing on a job. You're never focusing on crossing or checking all the boxes 9 to 5. You're focused on helping people become better versions of themselves. So that's why I dig it.
Awesome. I think that pretty much probably sums it up from a real general standpoint for all of us. I mean, right? Like there's 11 of us here currently hanging out. Certainly not because I'm good at doing this. We've all established that that's not the case. But yeah, I mean, we love what we do. We love, like you were saying, helping everybody else get better at what they do. I mean, it's I don't know. I guess it maybe sounds corny, but it's kind of an altruistic sort of endeavor to a certain extent.
Yeah. Keeps me motivated. I mean, everything trickles down from there. So it's not like, I'm high-fiving my team all the time saying, go out and be that way. But if you start to think about that as the fundamental or the catalyst for everything, you're sort of puts everything in perspective. And I think the kryptonite, is just sort of the misuse of power and technology. That's one of our weaknesses, right? Because AJ was saying, what's the kryptonite? What's L&D's kryptonite? I think that's one piece of kryptonite, if you will.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a great. So the flip side of the coin of this conversation. So let's see. What would be the other kryptonite? Would probably be the outside pressures, the people. The ones that we try to convince that one particular solution might be a little bit more effective than another, and yet they push back and maybe aren't accepting to some of those things that we want to try. Maybe you're in an organization that doesn't trust, as I know you're very lucky. They trust you in your job. I think probably most of the folks in this room probably are in positions where they feel trusted to do what they need to do to meet the objectives. But I think there's a lot of people out there that are frustrated with that, and just have gotten to the point where they've been beaten down so many times that they're just kind of going with the flow and just doing what they do.
Process. I would say process is a big, and the misuse of process is a very big weakness of L&D right now.
Yeah. Well, so I'll throw this out there. I kind of mentioned it earlier, but I think our legacy is our kryptonite. I think the
tradition.
Tradition, the legacy of what we used to do and why we used to do it, and all of the things that drove the methodologies and the models and all of that. I think the further we get into the 21st century, the less and less and less those things apply. We originally moved forward paving the cow paths, as they say, right? Basically just taking what we know and trying to plug that into the new technologies. And we did it really well for a really long time, and that worked for us. But I think I think what we've all learned is that the disruption is so different and so complete that none of that stuff really functions and works anymore.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. I think that we kind of get stuck in that mold, traditions, legacies, and thinking that, that change is, we're resisting that change. And I think in all parts of business, there is that. If we fall into it sort of resisting that change. We don't want to change. We think we know what we're doing. And given in today's digital world, right, it changes as Harold Jarkey says, you've mentioned Internet Time Alliance. Well, Harold Jarkey, he said
Yep.
that we're in a state of perpetual beta, and the more you resist that, the more that you're going to find yourself left behind, or to use the phrase, and I'm going to use air quotes, but disrupted, right? This year, in this world. So you need to embrace change as much as possible. And I think that is one of L&D's biggest kryptonite, is the inability to change, to think that traditional instructional design, technologies like LMS, using them incorrectly. And I think that's the biggest piece of it too, is just the inability to actually adapt to today's learner.
Yeah, I think Ajay has a great point also, in that I think one of the things that we did was we started to rely and get too excited about the technology, right? And I think we may have abused it to one level or the next, and we didn't. I think we're getting better at this now, but I think for a long time we defaulted to technology because we called ourselves e-learning professionals, and we really wanted to be applying the technology because we saw the power of it. But at the end of the day, to provide business value, a lot of times we need to look at what's the most simplistic, and I think we skip simplicity sometimes. What do they call it? Occam's razor, The most simplistic solution is probably the best.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, it's funny. I have conversations like this almost every single day. It's amazing that we tend to focus on the bright and shiny, and it's cool to focus on the bright and shiny sometimes. But when it comes to actual business value, that's when you really need to sit down and say, okay, how do we leverage either this technology, this process, in all aspects, to sort of like how to deliver the best business value. I think there's a lot of analytics, people were all big about, big data, but now we're just figuring out how to leverage it for business meaning.
Right.
Pick your favorite LMS technology, pick your favorite learning technology. Now we're beginning to leverage it. XAPI, right? It was mentioned a couple different times here. Now we're beginning to leverage it in the right ways to provide the most business value. VR now, right? AR right now, as it comes into it, it's bright and shiny, man. I love doing it, but it's like, okay, what's the real business value? Wearables are huge right now where I am, and that's the question I always ask: is awesome, great, but what are you doing? What are you doing with it to provide some real business value, right?
Yeah.
And it's a change.
And whatever the solution is, right? It's like, well, let's step back for a second. Could we meet that exact same objective with something a little bit more simplistic? Do
Absolutely.
We need to jump directly to that advanced technology in order to solve that problem, in order to reach that objective? What is it that we could do that would be more, maybe a little bit more cost effective? And I think in a lot of situations, this may sound very strange and, I don't know, maybe not something that we hear a lot of, but I think there are a lot of organizations that do things just because they need and want to do something shiny and new and different, because for so many years, they've been doing really good at keeping up. They've got all sorts of courses that are running great. People like them. They've got this machine that's cranking out stuff, but they still have budget coming in and they're not sure how to spend it. And of course, we all know it's like, if you don't spend your budget at the end of the year, then when come review time, they're like, what? Maybe you don't need so much budget. So, there's just those
blows my mind.
I know it's weird politics. It's the weird way of how big corporations and how business works, but it's the reality, right? And so a lot of organizations get into a pickle where it's like, everything's running great. We really don't need to spend any money, but we've got all this budget. So what could we do to improve? And so that's when they go looking for the new and the shiny and okay, let's take this course that we have that's really functioning really well, but how can we really kick it up a notch? And let's try something else, which I admire. I think if people have the opportunity, if you have the resources, if you have the budget, I think those are the people that help drive our industry forward with the technology, because they have the means and the ability to do so, and not everybody does. So it's nice that there are organizations that can help pull us in that direction, but also at the same time, you kind of wonder, yeah, did you really need to do that?
Right. I think it works really, really well. And why I like it now is that I see this shift in design thinking, and that's another big thing that is sort of like with air quotes, right? You hear a lot of nowadays. But the number one thing with design thinking is just to be empathetic, and I think that's really what I love to do with my job, and it focuses me on the end user. I know JD doesn't like to use the word learner, but it focuses on that endpoint, that person who is going to experience what you're crafting with the sole purpose of actually promoting behavior change or attitude change. And if you focus on that empathy, which I think people are beginning to understand now, like putting themselves in the heads, putting themselves in the shoes of the person at the end of that, whether it be a course, whether it be a job aid, whether it be whatever, it'll help you understand and craft the right experience to meet that person where they are. And that's what I love doing about it. I love going through that process of being creative, being playful, being innovative, if you will, to create something that is very, very meaningful for that person.
Well, so that's a perfect segue into what I wanted to make sure we talked about around this topic. And it is that sense of design, not just instructional design, but all things design. I think
absolutely
everybody, that's the one thing that I've noticed about the people that I meet in this industry, at least the really passionate folks like everybody here and that I've met throughout the years at events, is that they're all creative types and they're all very interested in some sort of design. I mean, how many guitar players do we have here? Out of 11 people, I think half of us play guitar, at least, right? I mean, Sam's musical. I know Craig plays. Yeah, Craig's raising his hand. Ajay plays sax. Okay, it's not a guitar, but that's right. Adam plays keyboard. That's right. I totally forgot about that. And Adam's an artist and fantastic artist. He's got that creative bent there, right? JD's in on it. I mean, it's one of those, it's another piece of what draws us to the industry, I think, is that we do have an opportunity to utilize those skills to make money in a way that's not the starving artist way of making money.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I think we do that really, really well, better than anybody else. And it's just a matter of tapping into that instead of being caught in the process and caught in the sort of business methodologies and traditional methodologies, just sort of thinking about, okay, how do we leverage the true creativity, the true imagination of the L&D department? Because you're right. I mean, those are the people that actually kind of are drawn to that.
Yeah, and Adam pairs it up nicely. That pretty much sums it up for us. I think those two pieces of it, that ability to do a job where we get to be creative and we get to help people at the same time. I mean, it's really like, for empathetic people, what better job is there? Right.
And I think that's where I want to stay positive here, but I think that's where people start to not like the L&D or start to not like their job in L&D is whenever you take that creativity away and you sort of stifle it, or you put it into a process or guidelines where it needs to be like this instead of being able to be creative on your own terms, and focusing it. So I think you start to take away that creativity or the innovation with somebody, and they start to say, L&D might not be the best place for me.
Yeah, so this is interesting. So Sam says designing solutions is how I got here. Other people said go do L&D. Yeah, it's funny. It's like, why is it that we are, in a strange sort of way, we're in the perfect position within corporations to solve problems? Sure, we're called corporate training or L&D or whatever, but because of that our ability to be creative and our ability to do innovative things, and we're in a space where we're kind of allowed to. I know that people might go, not me, not in my job, but to your point. But I think in general, most of us are in places where we can be a little bit creative and do some interesting, innovative things. And since we're helping people, anything that we do that's innovative and creative and has impact is seen as, wow, an amazing solution. And so if you're not in our space and you're the type of person that's out there creating amazing solutions, of course people go, oh, well, yeah, you should be in L&D. That's what they do.
Right.
You know?
Right. Absolutely. I mean, and there's a sweet spot too, because you can't just go out and say you can use any tool possible or any technology possible, because I think we fall into the trap of being, going way too outside of the box. But I've often heard the sort of phrase where you're more creative if you're given, let's say, a box of crayons instead of a box of crayons plus markers plus, a canvas plus plus paints and stuff. So in other words, if you are given the appropriate amount of guidelines, people can really be creative within those confines.
Yeah, within constraints creativity within constraints is huge. And I have to admit, I'm one of those people that has learned over the years that I absolutely need those constraints. If the whole entire world is opened up to me, if I have like a whiteboard in front of me and somebody says, just go do something, I freeze. I don't even know where to start. I don't know what to do. Same, talking about doing musical stuff. People say, oh, you play guitar? Here's a guitar. Play something. I'm like, I don't know what to play. You guys all start playing something and I'm happy to join you and get in, but I can't just, I'm not that sort of solo artist, if you will.
No, that's good. I think even in today's networked environment and networked, community-based sort of social place that we live in digitally, I think I think that we need that sort of start, right? We need that sort of just push in the right direction, or somebody to start us in that way, just so that we can riff off them. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Pun intended.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and 12 Bar Blues. And by the way, where is 12 Bar Blues? I don't even remember, or was somebody that's here right now used to be 12 Bar Blues and you changed your handle? Somebody was 12 Bar Blues and he wrote it with XII, and I was just so dense. I just thought it was a number Bar Blues, and I thought, oh, cool. He's a player. He plays the blues, and probably partakes in a little bit. And then it was like, after seeing him like 15 times in the blab, I'm like, oh, XII, that's 12 Bar Blues. Oh, now I get it. But so crazy tangent. And jammer.net is absolutely fantastic. Do love the site. Play the intro to Smoke on the Water. Yes, I get, when all else fails, I guess that's what you can do, right? I think what's the standard that everybody plays? Now I'm drawing a blank. I play it every time I pick up my guitar, but now I can't remember it. My warm up. Oh well.
AJ, you said something about where we were allowed to be creative as a child, right? Coloring outside the lines was appropriate, and or every time you brought home a picture, your mom or dad would be like, "This is amazing. This is phenomenal." I think that there's a great book by Dan Roam, Roam, and he tells about that. Blah 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 is the name of the title, and he talks about that, about how we all have this sort of inner hummingbird, if you will, and it's sort of squashed, right? It's sort of squashed down as we get older. What happens when I draw something now? Very very rarely will I have that mom and dad saying, "That's beautiful." It's more like, "Why didn't you color in the lines?" And we were expected to be a little bit more, and it kills our creativity, right? When we create something messy nowadays as adults, right? Yep. Absolutely agree with that.
I'm cruising over his site right now, and I will I'll put it up for us. Because thank you very much, Blab. Now we can rats, except I opened it in the wrong browser.
It's a good analogy, AJ. Very good analogy.
What did he say? Read that back for us.
Our parents are business leaders, are like in business leaders now. That's the analogy he's given. Our parents now are business leaders. They don't like to put our pictures on the fridge anymore. That's very American, right? So I'm not sure if that applies internationally, if everybody would get that same analogy, that same story. But absolutely, you're absolutely right.
Is that really? Is the whole putting the pictures on the fridge thing? Is that really just an American thing?
Yeah, I'm trying to be conscious of that too. That's another good thing with L&D that I love about my job is that, I'm in a global workforce. I meet people all over the world now. And I'm always conscious of that whenever I'm giving presentations or actually talking to somebody to make sure that my analogies are appropriate because, I'm talking to people in my, who are living in Delhi, right outside of, Gurgaon or Mumbai, or in the Ukraine or somewhere else. Yep. Hey, that's day in Rome right there. But yeah, I'm always worried about, okay, did what I just say make sense for everybody? Especially when I say K-12, that's a very American. Kindergarten through 12th grade, that's a very American phrase. So I try to say things like grade school, right?
Man, don't they call it like grade 1 or grade 2 and there's a different term for it as well.
Yep.
It's like when you say pants, like pants in America are like jeans and pants, but pants in the UK is underpants.
Something like that. The really cool thing is that sometimes people have been westernized so much that they get it no matter what. So even if they were called underpants, people would understand if I said pants. Or when I say truck, people understand it means it's a lorry, right? What they would understand in the UK. So they get it because they've been Americanized a little bit. But there are some things that I try to bust out, like the whole refrigerator thing. Picture in the refrigerator, I stop and think, wait a second. Does everybody do that across the world, or is that just an American thing when you come home from kindergarten, you just post it with a magnet on a refrigerator? Does everybody have a refrigerator? Who doesn't have a refrigerator in the world?
Yeah, who should? And soda versus pop, that's a great
big one,
internal regional difference.
That's another good thing.
Grinder versus hoagie, I love that.
I love that in L&D. So back to the topic, man. I love it because I have to think about those things all the time when I'm developing experiences, because I have to be conscious of the international audience that we have. I mean, thumbs up is not a cool thing everywhere in the world. So I have to remove that iconography in many places. But at the same time, you have to be conscious because a thumbs up might be, look how many times we use it in Facebook to represent a like. So, it's very meaningful and contextual if you pick the right audience. But if you're going generic across international lines, you have to be aware. So.
Yeah. So I wonder, so that's interesting. I wonder if Facebook thought of that when they decided to go with the thumbs up, or any of the other social platforms that have the thumbs up, thumbs down. I guess it was Google that first started in YouTube, maybe.
Maybe.
But yeah, I wonder if that's interesting. I wonder if those countries where that's a bad thing, I wonder if they have
something different.
Social. Yeah, maybe they changed the interface for those countries.
Yep.
That'd be curious. Isn't like the peace sign, doesn't that mean something in different countries as well?
I'll have to talk to my team. They're much more in tune with that than I am. All I say is, at this time is just be aware. Please be aware, whatever gesture you put on screen. Even it's awesome, but if you talk about contractions in the United States, like don't and won't, those are things that are not easily translatable from the will not or the do not. Yeah. So you have to think about, but conversational tone, when we're talking in conversational tone like we are now, people remember that much more than if you were talking a more formal language. So it's always this balance. And that's one of the things I love about L&D. I'm always worried about that balance and always focus on that balance to think about what's the best way to meet whatever audience I might be in.
And it's cool because you get to learn that too. It's not everybody that has a job where they get to reach out to all those different countries and have to think about it. You can either think about it as it's a burden to you and your job and what you have to do, or you could think about it as a really cool thing and another constraint that it's a challenge that you have to kind of overcome and go for,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Another reason why I love my job so much is that, they really trust me. Again, it's the trust thing, but they trust me to go out and say, okay, look at new technologies, and I get to play a lot, right? Play a lot and think, okay, how would I apply this to learning, to corporate training, whether that's be more focused, but in the whole aspect of actually gaining new information or new ways to get information, and then changing that to do either things you don't have to remember or don't have to know, whether it's the Amazon Echo, right? And so things I don't have to remember because I can just say, Alexa, what is the square root of 25, right? And stuff like, so those are things I don't have to remember, not even looking at my phone anymore. Now I have a voice, I have a no UI, right? To ask something like that. So things like that, you know, are kind of cool to investigate new technology. But the cool thing is not to force that into say, where can I use it? But think about, could I use it? You know, and if I could use it first, then where would I use it? How would it be applicable?
Well, yeah. And then so to kind of come full circle, I think we kind of started with this in the conversation, was how does that particular disruption, you know, change how we do the work that we do, right? We can't lock ourselves into saying, oh my God, I've come up with this great solution, so now I'm just going to start doing this for everybody. Because even 1 year, 2 years down the road, every solution that you've done, even a year ago, I would say is outdated, and that you should be doing something different in your next thing. Yeah. You know, I think I learned from, oh my gosh, I'm just having horrible name recall issues this morning, but business guru guy, Tom Peters, he used to say, you're only as good as your last gig. Right. Yeah. I mean,
Makes sense.
You can only ride that success, that prior success, for so long too. You know, if you do that one cool thing, you're known for that, but now you got to do better the next time around, because you can only ride that cool success for so long, you know, and what you've done. So
absolutely.
Wow, I haven't even been looking at the time, and we're closer to 9 o'clock than I normally like to be when we start wrapping up. But this was great. I was really worried about this topic, thinking it might just turn into just random craziness. But I think this has been really, really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's been some great comments in the live chat. And so I'd encourage anybody to ask those questions out there on Twitter. If we didn't have time today, that'd be great. I'm sure we'll find time to respond to them. Awesome stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. We can extend the conversation. I've been, just in case anybody is wondering, somebody asked me this the other day, well, what hashtag do you use for the blab? And I was like, yeah, great idea. I hadn't even really thought of it, but let's start using just LD Talk, not with the ampersand, but just letter L, letter D, Talk, no spaces, nothing like that. So that'll be our hashtag that we'll use, to reference this. So yeah, I mean, if we can maybe ask that question and have people hashtag it and start extending some of these conversations, it would be great. Maybe we can start getting some other people to hang out with us in the morning as well. So does anybody else in the chat have any parting remarks they'd like to add for Motivation Monday? I hope everybody's gotten fired up this morning and ready for your week, ready to go out and create new cool stuff. Yes. Sean, thanks for jumping in.
No problem, man. It was Monday. I was caffeinated, had an hour free. Figured I would. Thank you very much for the invitation. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So where can people find you? Go ahead. What do you want to pimp today?
I am the only Sean Bengry in the world. So if you want to, it's LinkedIn and everything like that. So Twitter is Sean Bengry. Everything is Sean
Just
Bengry.
Google Sean Bengry and you're probably the guy that follows that shows up.
Both the famous and the infamous things. That's right.
Nice. I'm motivated to get coffee. Yes, Ajay, I need my second cup as well. So I'm right there with you. But for those of you watching this recording, my name is Brent Schlenker. We're here every morning, 8 a.m. Pacific time on the Blabs. You can just find me at blab.im/B Schlenker. And you can hang out with us every morning. We talk about a different topic, a different general topic. And Wednesday, I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow, but I know for sure Wednesday we have Ajay Pengarkar as my co-host, and we talk the business of learning and corporate training. Thursday, we have Anthony Altieri does Things Thursday with us. So we talk the Internet of Things and all of those, the software and the physical world and how we combine them to solve learning problems, create learning solutions. And Friday, of course, is Video Friday, with video being one of the biggest disruptive technologies, I think, in our industry right now. We have devoted a full day to it, my favorite Friday day, because we also have my co-host, Sam Rogers, who is the amazing birthday songwriter. And he also wrote improvised kick butt intro for this show, which I forgot to play at the beginning. So I'll try to remember to play it tomorrow. But anyways, all good times. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me, and we'll do it again tomorrow. Oh, I forgot to say one last thing. Events coming up. May is huge for events. C3, Calidus Cloud, and Litmus has our corporate event in Las Vegas at the Wynn. If you are interested at all in hanging out and learning more about Litmus, but also learning more about industry stuff for L&D, specifically if you are really connected to doing sales training or sales and marketing training, or you are focused on doing training for customer support, customer experience, this is a really killer event for that, because there is also we also have product sets in the spaces, which means they're having their major clients there as well, and their user bases. And so to be able to learn about your audience in a place like that and learn from your peers is pretty darn cool. 2 weeks after that, we do ATD in Denver. How many of you are going? Are you going, Sean? Cool. Sean's
I'll be presenting there.
Awesome. For you. Yep, I'll be presenting as well. I'll also be standing in the Litmus booth the rest of the time. So if you guys are in the expo, stop by, say hi, and we can do more of that. So with all that being said, also fall is a great time for events as well. And there is a new event coming up, which I'm super excited about, that I am hosting, called the Training, Learning, and Development Conference. You can check that out at thetldc.com, and you'll be hearing a lot more about that in the coming months. And I think that's about it. Follow me on Twitter at bschlenker. Follow me at Litmus. Hit the Facebook page, all that kind of stuff. But anyways, we'll talk to you all tomorrow for sure, 8 o'clock in the morning. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you then.